Okay, so we should be live, going live on Instagram, should be live on YouTube. How's it going, Hansi? Is that John? I'm not sure. Everybody's online names take a bit of time. But sorry for a bit of a late start. Today we had some scheduling issues with the stream that I was supposed to do earlier with Will Rouge, but it looks like that hopefully is moving till tomorrow. But I'll let you guys know when we have an exact time narrowed down. But that is still happening. So, but yeah, unfortunately, that could not happen today. But I was working on getting it back rescheduled. So, today I wanted to talk a bit about the purposes of a theory of everything more in depth, because it's often something that is asked of me and asked of pretty much everyone who is in this like little world of theories of everything people. And switching to the gram. Okay, from YouTube. Is it better on the gram? I feel like it should be better on YouTube if I'm going to show my work. But for those of you on Instagram who don't know this, I am also streaming to YouTube simultaneously as I'm streaming to Instagram. I do like streaming to Instagram, but it seems to be more stable. But YouTube allows for me to switch my screen using OBS, and that's really nice. But we'll stay on here on Instagram. But if you are on Instagram, probably join YouTube. Switch back and forth. Yep, me too. But all right. So I want to take some of your questions too. Of what are your questions about possible advances of a theory of everything? What do you what would you like to know about what it's going to produce? And then I want to talk a bit about the advances that I expect. And one of them is not very... If you follow this channel, then you'll know that I expect it. But if you don't follow this channel, then you don't know that I expect this to be the primary application, which is applied to social systems. Social systems are going to be the main instance of the applications of a theory of everything. Because a true theory of everything is really a theory of everyone. And hoping you sell some of those prints of your model. I definitely will. I'll definitely sell some prints of the model. I have actually just recently picked out which prints I'm going to sell. There's 2 of them. I'll show them to you on the stream tonight, and then when I sell them, I'm getting my fiance Paulina to help me with that, because she actually sells prints of her photography online, and so she knows how to get like high quality prints and knows how to hook it up. I don't. What do I think of NFTs? Good question. I'm still figuring it out. I'm very concerned about um, like digital information being claimed as property. I think that it's going to be a big problem in the future. I believe you should get credit for something, but as soon as you make something public, I don't believe you own it anymore. Like if you make something public, I don't really believe that you own it. Like I don't believe that. I would hope that people buy, the prints from me for, this print that I'm trying to do, but like I don't believe that I have the right to sue someone who like finds it in a Google Images and somewhere random and then just like, prints it off on themselves. But I would hope that you support it's very important in these days, in these times, especially to come. Let me get some water. But to support what you care about, because the trend of society will be to support corporate systems that will try and stamp you out, to support what you care about. What if you're dreaming right now? Maybe. Maybe this whole life is a dream and then the afterlife is reality. I don't know. But I doubt it. I think they're both real. Anything that can be digitized will eventually be free, yeah. And yeah. An issue with this, though, is that this will allow for absolute tyranny of information. The blockchain is going to lead to the ability to have absolute tyranny of information transfer other than off the grid transfer. So basically, like, you're going to have to, if you want to transfer information without being subject to the tyranny of the grid, you're going to have to be offline, like truly offline too, like not just turning your Wi-Fi off. I mean, like, you're going to have to unplug your Ethernet and not have a wireless hookup. And you're going to have to take like a USB and hand-to-hand transfer that USB to that information. You're only going to be able to do that. Like, you're not going to be able to send people files. And I know that there's one-time pad encryption coming out and all that stuff, and that will work for a while, but eventually I think even that will be basically decrypted by the AI. That's why I wear my tinfoil hat and preach analog. Yeah. Exactly. It's just like people are advocating for like smart weapons all the time. I'm like, no, we don't want to do that. There are some things that you want to leave to the analog world, which is your world. So, but how's it going, Chris? So, let's take a look here. I can show you actually the models that I am hoping to. This is one of the models that I'm going to be turning into a sellable print. This is like, let me just share screen. Right here, this is basically got the equation for creation, and then it goes on to be the equation of the universe. And I might do like some long prints that are going to be like more like this, like it'll be like a vertical print. It'll be like a long one. Probably do that as one. And then the only other one I'm planning on doing is going to be like this. This one. Which is just awesome. Like, this one is... It's just so cool. You can even Just add these little things to it. Like I love that one. I don't even have that one hanging up yet in my house. But to show you guys what people are talking about on Instagram, my fiance framed this for me, which was my cosmological verse model, and she put it into a frame. And then for those of you on YouTube, I'll show you right here. So it's like the glare is pretty bad, so but that's it. It looks very cool. To Sabine Hassenfelder, who says that beauty is not a good guide to physicists, I say, have you seen my cosmological verse? Thing is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. It's objectively beautiful. It's not just sexy, which there's a lot of sexy math out there. But beautiful math is, you discover beautiful math when you're not trying. You discover sexy math when you're trying. And very few people discover math at all, let alone the people who are not trying. And what's my parents' professions? My dad is a doctor. And my mom works for him. She manages his office. But she used to be in business. And that's what they do. They're not like physicists or anything like that. I'm not Lex Friedman over here coming from like a long line of physicists. I don't know if it's a long line of physicists, but like, I don't know. There's a lot of Jewish physicists. That's like definitely true. But I don't think it's because, like, a lot of people think that that's because, I mean, it's a lot of things, right? So, like, a lot of people will attribute that to, like, all kinds of different things. I think that that's because those people tend to just challenge norms a lot. Like, I think that's, I mean, I believe in the Bible, so, like, there's reasons that are, but if you don't, then, like, I think it's more to do with just being willing to try something new than anything else. I don't think it's like as much of an IQ thing as people think, or like even an education thing. Otherwise, how would I do what I do? It's not that. It's a are you a fight the system mentality person? Do you reject are you willing to, at least for the sake of argument, reject currently held consensus? If that's even a word. Lex has the perfect setup. Yeah, Lex has a good setup. Told me, how his dad's a lawyer and his mom manages his office. Yeah, I think that's great. I think, like, that's partnership when people do that kind of thing. Like, a husband and wife should be a team. Like, they should definitely be a team. I remember, like, over a year ago before coronavirus, people would be like, oh, thank God I get to get away to the office for 8 hours and get away from the wife. I'm like, now I'd be like, I don't know what I would do, like, if I was away from Paulina all day long. I would lose it. Woman holds me together. But, yeah, I mean, based. Like, the way that people use based now is, like, just willing to say whatever they think is true, regardless of whether or not what the mob is saying. Just, like, courageous. Not saying that courage isn't found in everybody. Of course it is, but, like, and are you willing to say what you think is true regardless of what other people are saying around you? Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes it leads you to truth. Sometimes it leads you to lies. So it's important to know that there's two sides to that story. But let's see. Have you seen it? It's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. Looking at the YouTube comments. Can ethics be math? Ethics are math, and we're going to talk about it tonight. Because, like I said earlier, the main application of a theory of everything is to improve social situations, because it helps us see the truth about everything from morality to, politics and government and family and, how we interact with each other, how we should interact with nature. And I think that that's going to be the main application. As far as material sciences go, everybody's looking for it to generate like endless energy. I think that we're missing the point on endless energy. I think that when people are talking about limitless energy, they're trying to think about like having like a fusion reactor going all the time. And I don't know how much that's actually the right answer. I think that if you really want limitless energy, we kind of have to take consciousness into the equation. And where we're missing a huge part of the universe when we're calculating how we would get limitless energy. Everybody is looking at the universe as just this unconscious thing, and we're trying to calculate limitless energy. I think that that's wrong. That's a very like Edison DC approach. And if you want like a Tesla AC approach, like an alternating current type of approach, like think about this. Imagine if you had a reactor, and that reactor was just like a slave labor force, okay? And all you did was you shoveled food in, but you never let them sleep. You would lose all your energy. Like the reactor would shut down, the people would fall apart. Like, that's not good. What you need is you need to have alternating current. You need to have people, yes, taking in fuel via nutrients and so forth, but also sleeping and then being awake, and resting and then being awake and productive. So resting and productive, resting and productive, resting and productive. And realizing what resting is doing for the lower levels of consciousness, like your cells. It's allowing them to create order in their space. And when we take consciousness into the equation, it's much more, it just opens up a world of possibilities as far as free energy. And we start to realize that we're almost there. Like, we're almost there. Democrats and Republicans, yes and no. Like, I think that there is a left and right, and the right and the left are, the problem with this is we only think about them in terms of keeping the other one in check, and your job just can't be to keep the other one in check, because that's actually two negative forces. It's two forces trying to hold each other back. You need to have positive force included in that. So this is why I talk about on here, like, the marriage approach to politics. Like, it's not meant to be a centrist approach where we're like, we go halfway in on like some contentious issue and halfway in on the other side of the contentious issue. You got to pick which contentious issue are handled by either the left or the right, and then go all in on that one thing. So, like, let's say it's, Second Amendment issues, give it all to the right to handle. And then let's say that it's like, I don't know, like on the other side of it, same issue basically, but it would be like abortion issues. You'd give it all to the left to handle. Like, you gotta give, that would be like true not compromise, but like marriage, where each side has a different responsibility, as opposed to our job is to keep each other in check. It's just a wrong mentality. It's not even like just draining, even though it is. It's wrong. Your job is not just to keep others in check. Your job is to complement others and to help them, help enable others, not to restrict others. But like our current view of politics, especially on the right and the left, is that their job is to restrict each other. It's like their job is to restrict each other to some degree, to keep each other in check. But their main job should be to enable each other. And we don't really do that. It's destroying our politics. They're both negatives, authoritarian state. Yeah, they're both negatives in the current system. But doesn't mean they have to be, or that they, yeah, it doesn't mean they have to be. They really thrive on division. Yeah, they really do. But like, they don't really, because to say they really thrive on division is like, really that's not true. I don't think anybody's thriving. I take it back. Like, there are certain people who are getting a lot of monetary income due to the division. Other than that, though, everybody's like dwindling and suffering, and they're not thriving. They're toiling. Negatives is really just subtracting positives. Can negative numbers really represent anything? Can you actually be less than 0? No. 0, you can't be even 0. That's the thing. This is like to break into this idea of like, what is the application of a theory of everything? When you're discussing existence, there is no 0 as nothing. There's only 0 as infinity. But there isn't, and the rules change, because now we're talking about objective mathematics instead of subjective mathematics, as I like to put it. But there is no nothingness, there's only somethingness. So there's no such thing as 0 in objective mathematics, only in subjective mathematics. In objective mathematics, 0 is equal to infinity. And there's nothing less than 1 is the reality. Like, there's no such thing as nothing less than 0 in objective mathematics. There's nothing less than 1. And because to say that there's even 0 as representative of nothingness would mean that nothingness existed. And nothingness doesn't exist, and it can't by default, because nothingness is non-existence, and non-existence can't exist. So 0 doesn't exist. 0 is infinity in objective mathematics. But I think that when we talk about things outside of social applications, like how do we make a good government? How do we make better companies? How do we make better marriage systems and social systems and courts and things like that? Which, I'll talk about more. But we're going to talk about what most people think of when they think about scientific advancements. They're thinking about engineering, not just social engineering, which is actually the greatest, like I said, the greatest application of a theory of everything is social engineering. And not social engineering because we want to change everything to be the way that we want it to be, but social engineering because we want to see what is true so that we can align ourselves with it, which is totally different. Okay? Like, making things the way we want them to be is not the goal. Making things align with the truth is the goal. It's very, very different. And as soon as you go and you try and make things the way that you want to be, you experience resistance and trauma and all kinds of things. If you accept whatever is, and you also accept that you don't really know what is, and then you try and figure out what is, and then you align yourself with it, which is God, then you can actually have peace. And that's true of social systems as well. But I will say that as far as material sciences go, I think that we're going to see major, major advancements in carbon from the theory of everything. And that's because when you start breaking down these systems, and I'll show you guys it in a minute. But the binary triality system that I found of 6 is probably very, very linked to the carbon element, and carbon allows for the generation of cellular life in all of its, wonder. But there is also life below cellular life, so I don't think we should focus too much on that. But carbon, I think we'll see the greatest advances from like the release of geometric unity as far as material sciences go. And I know Eric Weinstein, his main goal with geometric unity as far as engineering goes is warp transportation. And I've talked about it on here. I do think that you're going to figure out how to do that. But I don't know if it's a good idea, because if you do it without consent of the universe, and I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to get consent, you're going to risk breaking the coherence of the universe. And that is terrible. That's not a good thing. So 2 just means 2 ones, exactly. What means 2? What means 0? Nothing means 0. 0. Nothingness is an illusion, or it's a subjective. It's subjective. How's it going, heavy equipment? Good to see you again too. But let's take a look at some math and models, because it's kind of what I wanted to do. Like I said, stream with Will Rouge looks like it's getting pushed to tomorrow, and I will let you guys know when that's going to happen. But those of you, this is my desk, by the way, part of my desk. Pretty cool, like all my little shapes. For those of you on Instagram, that's filled with geckos that clone themselves, because life really does find a way. It's like Jurassic Park on my desk. It's pretty amazing. Okay. How's that for Instagram people? If you go on YouTube, by the way, if you're on Instagram, like, you will see better this work. But then you won't be able to see, like, oh, you'll be able to see this. I can show you guys this stuff. But this shape is a 64 tetrahedron grid. It's what's being held up by the 64 tetrahedron grid. It's fascinating. This is that. Sometimes I just stare at this 64 tetrahedron grid model and like try and look at it from all different perspectives. And the things that I see are sometimes amazing. But I just kind of want to show some cool math for this, and then answer you guys' questions. But what's the kind of show you why I think carbon, though, is going to be the main where like main material science advances happen. And that's because when we take a look at the quantum of consciousness, okay, right here, what's interesting about this is that even though it's 4 as different numbers here, I don't know what's going on here as far as colors go. Paste formatting. There we go. There's really 6 perspectives that are being shown. And so, which is singularity, oneness within, oneness without, inside, outside, and separate. And these 6 perspectives can be found in everything when we start to look at, like, the binary triality model, which is right here. Let's just expand these out. We can see it in every single field, right? We can see it in the order of operations. We can see it in aspects of equations. We can see it in our senses and our sense organs and the forces and space-time, sex and gender, the nuclear family, color mixing, language, invertebrates, vertebrates, DNA and RNA, amino acids. It's everywhere. The food groups, okay, because this is the structure of mind. So it's about how we categorize things. That's why it's showing the food groups, because when we look at everything in the world and we're thinking about what we can eat, our mind categorizes them into these 6 different groups. And what's interesting is that when I was a biology major in college, my bio teacher just realized we never made the model last week. Yeah, I know we didn't make the model. We will. But I'm waiting till the Discord gets a little bit bigger and I can people have a bigger group to teach it to. But we'll make it. Maybe this week on YouTube we'll make it. But maybe even today, actually. You know what? We'll probably make it today. We will make it today. I'll show you guys how to make it today. But this is how we categorize everything in the world. But my biology teacher used to say there's no such thing as a vegetable. All the time. And I was like, dude, what do you mean there's no such thing as a vegetable? And he'd be like, well, what's a vegetable? I'd be like, well, tomatoes. He'd be like, no, that's a fruit. I'd be like, okay, well, carrots. He'd be like, no, that's a root. It's like, okay, well, lettuce. No, that's a leaf. There is no scientific term for vegetable, but there is vegetables categorized in how we eat things because our mind separates out all the foods into this. I always thought that was fascinating. Of course, those 6 food groups. But carbon is an element with the atomic number of 6. Okay? It has, interestingly enough, the electrons per shell is 2 and 4. I know Robert Grant did a lot of work on 24 this week and 42, and there's a lot to that, both of those numbers. And 2 and 4 is 24 or 42, just as it's reversing. But this number, this element is one of the most versatile elements in existence, and that's why it goes on to be the structural component of cellular life. But the fact that it can be a lump of coal and a diamond and you and me is pretty freaking amazing. I mean, when I got the ring for my fiance, the diamond ring, like, see here. I don't have it on here, but when I got the diamond ring for my fiance, before I gave it to her, I stared at that thing for hours every night for like a week, because it was just amazing to look at. Like, there's something about a diamond that until you really look at it, you realize, like, there's something truly incredible about it. And then when it's carved into the symmetrical forms that it's carved into, it just blew me away. And I was working on this at the time. Where is it? Right here. I was working on this, and like that kind of looks like a diamond, almost like carved, and I was just like blown away by it. I was like counting facets and stuff. It was ridiculous. But this binary triality pattern is part of the reason why I think carbon advances with things like carbon nanotubes and super strong fibers and 3D printed structures. I mean, we could 3D print knives out of carbon, I think, in the future. I think we'll do that. I don't think we'll use... I think it's going to replace plastics. I really do. I think we're going to stop using plastics. Plastics are just... They are carbon-based to some degree, and like that's part of the reason why they're so versatile. But I think that much more pure form carbon applications will be possible one due to like geometric unity and other types of work. But I mean, what's interesting is this 6 hexagonal structure is also like a cube, which is basically what the universe is. And I know people look at it and they're like, oh, that's like satanic or something. That's not true. It's not satanic. Some people use math for satanic purposes. That's true. But information in and of itself is just information. It takes a conscious application to make it evil or good. But like, look at that. This is what I'm talking about. And the other reason why I think that we're really going to make advances with this stuff due to a theory of everything is that while everybody sits there and talks about spinners and fiber bundles and all this stuff, a lattice structure is at the center of it all. And carbon lattice structures are how you make those advances. And so I think that like this is a lattice. It's a double helix. It's a lattice. And we're going to find out all kinds of amazing things in this that let us make serious advances. So this is a count of 36 and a sum of 66. It's like these are all numbers that have a lot to do with 6. Okay? And I didn't try to do that. It's just emergent. Before you go and you accuse me of some kind of satanic stuff. It's just part of reality. You just gotta accept that. Like, everybody thinks that, there's so much mythos built into like 666. It's the mark of the beast. It is. It's going to be the merging of machine and man absent wisdom that is the beast. Like, that is the beast. I'm not going to lie. Like, Elon Musk is currently trying to put little wires into the brains of pigs. Okay, that's like, that is not kosher. And, or halal. And he is looking to try and advance material science so that they can get wires that are non-corrosive. And because the metals are corroding. And that's not good. You don't want metal wires corroding in your brain. Obviously, the answer is going to be carbon nanotubes. Obviously. They don't corrode. And they are more conductive than even, like metal wires. This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, it's still linked to people. All theory of everything, true applications are going to be very much linked to people. They're not just like, how do we get endless toroidal, energy from I don't know, what's it called? Like a a fusion reactor. If we really wanted to do fusion and you really understand like how energy is transferred and generated in the universe, you would want to focus on making a fusion reactor that isn't always on. You'd want one that like is on for a while and then off for a while for some reason. And whatever that reason is, like as long as it's emergent, is going to be legitimate. And you would want to just store it in batteries for that amount of time or something like that, and then that it's off, and then you would want to switch it back on. And it, I don't know, maybe it's on for 6 days and then off for one. But yeah, 666, carbon currency, aka us. Yep, protons, electrons, and neutrons. Yep, there's 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons in a carbon atom. Like, it's us as a battery. It's like this is the Matrix. But we've always been the batteries, guys. Like, we're not the batteries. We always have been the batteries. The problem is going to be who's in charge of the batteries. If it's a technological superintelligence that is all powerful, but not all powerful, but extremely powerful, not wise, that's a problem. Dude, I'm so glad I found your page. Dude, I'm so glad you found my page too. I appreciate everybody who's here. Always. I'm very grateful to be able to talk about this to people who are interested. But this is going to be the main applications. Like, we've always been the batteries. You're not going to be sitting in a sack like, what's it called? The Matrix. But there will be aspects of mind control via, VR, and there's also but you're going to be moving. Like, and I'm not saying you have to comply with this or anything like that. I'm just saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just is. It seems like it's a necessary, inevitable step towards the Messianic era, or towards the, I don't know, post-scarcity society, I guess, like science would call it. But I would say it does seem to be necessary because it's in all scripture. Like, if it wasn't in scripture, I wouldn't say it was necessary. I hope it's not necessary, but I tend to believe scripture. It tends to be pretty right. So, but I think the application of the math that we are learning in the lattice structures that are applying to the theory of everything are going to be very relevant in carbon engineering. I know they will. And then, so that, and like figuring out social systems and how do we make sense of sexuality? How do we make sense of like government, castes, and family and things like that? That's going to be the main applications. It's not going to be, I mean, to some degree it will be like free. It's not free energy. There's no such thing as free energy. Okay? Like, there's no such thing as free energy. If there was such a thing as free energy, then God would not have had to divide himself in order to create. And he did. Now, it didn't actually take away from him, but that's different for us to some degree. Like, it can still result in growth and therefore then not actually be like subtractive. Like, there is such a thing as energy that's multiplicative, okay, that is adding, but it's not free. There is no free energy. There's energy that when you put in, you get more out of it than you put in, but you still had to put in. There's no such thing as like, we don't put in, but we just take out. It's like, no, that doesn't exist. That's a pipe dream, unfortunately. But that's actually not unfortunate, because how could you value anything in the world if you could get it truly for nothing? The only thing that may be truly freely given is God's grace. And other than that, nothing else. Not even the energy that we get from God is free to him. He had to put in. Grace may be the only thing freely given. Okay. Just realized resource-based economy better than a post-scarcity. Yeah. I would say, like, I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to think of a better way of putting it, because I don't agree with the post-scarcity society narrative in the way that we are currently using it, but I think that there's actually like we need a new term, like besides resource-based economy or post-scarcity. Both of them I think are wrong. It's like we need a new term for what I'm trying to describe, which is like a maybe like an additive economy instead of a resource-based economy or a post-scarcity economy. It's like an additive economy. Like that would be better. People are talking about falling asleep on our Discord call last week. That's because we go late on the Discord. If you have not joined our Discord calls, which happen every Thursday, let me know and I will give you a Discord link and you can join us. They are always a blast, like, and way more intimate and personal than these talks. You can hear my voice, I can hear your voice, you can communicate with me directly. It's for hours. I mean, sometimes we go for like 4 hours. It's such a good time. Ask me in a private message on Instagram about on Theory of Everyone on Instagram if you want a Discord link, and I'll give it to you. But ask me there, because I'm very good at responding to those messages. I'm not very good at responding to YouTube comment messages. But let's go over some math, some interesting math. Actually, let's build. Here we go, John. Let's build this, the quantum of consciousness. We're going to build this multiple times, but I will show you how to build it here. So bear with me because I haven't built one in a while. But so let's start with 1. Okay. Actually, let's go here. Let's go. Okay. And then let's go center. Okay, so when I built this, originally, I was thinking about how information is processed. Okay, so this thing is processing information. And, well, look at that. 432 when I put in a 6. That's interesting. I bet you all these numbers are interesting when you start breaking them down. 36 and 48 are definitely interesting. 54 is definitely interesting. 432 is definitely interesting. But regardless, let's do this. So when I was thinking about how information is processed, I was thinking about there's 2 ways to add more information, to gain information. And one of them is multiplication, and one of them is division. Okay? And wanted to add and multiply at the same time, starting from the input right here. So, but first, this is kind of difficult to explain. I had to create symmetry, okay? So like, nothing can be added from this point on. Only this can be added. And if you want to do symmetrical structures, then whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. So I started doing this, okay? And then I tried to add these two, okay? And then here, same thing, this plus this, okay? And then here, symmetrical structure is equal to this plus this. And then, once again, we have to do this in a symmetrical form. So whatever we do here, it doesn't matter what we do, but we have to do the same thing here that we do here. So if we want to go this plus that, and like you're going down in a straight line where basically this one is this plus this, then here you would do equals this plus this, same exact thing. Or you could do equals this plus this, and then you'd have to do the same exact thing here, because this is symmetry, this is beauty. And for the sake of, things, let's do this plus this, and equals this plus this. Okay? So now you can see we're starting to build this structure, and you can already see that it's calculating. Okay? No matter what we put in here, we put a 0 in there, you get nothing. But put a 1 in there, you get this. And what's interesting is you're starting to actually form the Fibonacci sequence. And I didn't even realize this till somebody pointed it out on Instagram after I posted it. But 1, 1, 2, 3 is the Fibonacci sequence. It's interesting that 1 repeats twice in this structure and also is required to do so in Fibonacci sequence. And then what you do is so this one is kind of different. So you can either go 2 plus 2 and you'll get 4, or you can go 2 times 2, same thing, and get 4. Or you can go 3 plus 1, or you can go 3 plus 1. But because you want to do it symmetrically, you have to stay in line, because these are all on the side, it's much easier to do it. But because you do it here, so like you see that, you do that one, and then you do that one, which is right here. And this one is this one and this one, and this one is also this one and this one. Or you could do, this is this, and then this would be this and this. For this one, because there's only one of them, in order to keep it symmetrical, you have to stay in the center, actually. Which means that you can basically just do equals this plus this, or this times this. But we're going to do this plus this because I think that's the best way to do it. I'm still discovering this math. So like, there is a hard science to it, but like you have to discover that hard science as you go, and you'll make mistakes. So I've made all kinds of mistakes in this where if I don't do it properly, then it will kind of trick you into thinking that it's done properly, but then over time, you'll realize that you weren't symmetrical. Because I didn't do any multiplication in this so far, we're only going to do addition, and to keep it symmetrical, it's just going to be this plus this. Or what you could do is you could do maybe this, and I haven't tried this one yet actually, plus, and you could do these three added together. And now let's see what you get here. Okay, that actually seems like very interesting. Let's do that. Okay, that's something new. So this is now, you can see the equation there. It's this one plus this one and this one. And you can see that we've kept symmetry throughout. Normally what I do here is this. And I think that this is my favorite, which is just, you can see it's this one plus this one. But you can also do this one plus this one and this one and this one. But you have to keep it symmetrical. If you don't, you're gonna fail. That's the main point. There are degrees of freedom and there are constraints. The constraint that's the main constraint is you have to keep symmetry. So to do it the way that I normally do it is actually this one is this plus this, and this one would be this one plus this one. But maybe we could mess with this one and see what we get. So this might work though. We'll try something new. Interesting. Okay. So now you have your inputs and it will start calculating. Okay. Interesting. I like this. It seems to be working well. And this is totally different than actually this one, where I used the 2 on the sides. And then for these, I actually did this. So this would be these 2 together, and this would be these 2 together. But here we're doing the 2 in the center together. And here we're also doing the 2 in the center together again. So it's done differently. And like I said, there are degrees of freedom and there are constraints. It doesn't matter really which one you do. As long as you maintain symmetry, you'll get the same numbers. But you have to keep the symmetry. And if you break symmetry, sometimes you'll break it and you think that you didn't. So like you'll be like this. You'll be like equals this times this. And you'll be like, look, it's the same numbers. And then you'll go and you'll put in like a 7 here, or like, let's do like a 3, okay? And then when you put a 3 in here, you see the numbers are different. This is now a 36 and this is a 12. Something is off, okay? And that's because you broke symmetry and you didn't realize it because it's invisible when you have 1 in there, but it's visible as soon as you go to 2. Because now this is 16 and now this is 8. So you have to maintain that symmetry. And that symmetry is, so far, the only ways that I've seen it done is like that. Or, which is the way that I normally do it, which is adding the 2 on the sides. Or like the way that we did it, which is this plus this plus this. Which is basically, we've got this like V formation thing going on, but it's a symmetrical structure. And now you can see we're symmetrical again. It's fascinating. Interestingly, you guys can't see this, but I'll show you maybe. Hold on. Hopefully. Okay. Look at what the average is. It's 4.222222222. That's not a coincidence. I mean, it's not meaningless coincidence. It's 42. 4 and 2. It's very weird when there's a 2 in there. When we put a 1 in there, the average is 2.111111111. Okay? What's interesting is that when we go to here and we start looking at this structure, when we scale that up, which is made of 162, which is 3 times 6 times 9, of these little structures, that we just made, and you take the values of on the side, which is here is now 84 and 4, and you divide 84 by 4, you get 21. And same thing over here, when you divide 399 by 19, you're going to get 21. And then when you add the two together, you get 42. So we've moved over a decimal, okay? But the same structures are found, the same numbers are found in this structure, just at a lower level. So we're seeing that here when we highlight this, and you're seeing the average is 2.111111, and the sum is 19, and the count is 9. Over here, the sum is still 19, even in this structure, because when you go start at 1 and you go out to the side, that's 19. You go out to the side, that's 19. You go out all levels, that's 19. I mean, there we go, 19. So, and also every square, the biggest square that you can make here is a 19 by 19 square, and you can make 2 of them. So this structure is just scaling up. Where were we? Let's delete that. Okay, here we go. It's just scaling up. It's the same exact structure. And that's how you know symmetry is being preserved. But now we want to get these values on the sides, which when you input 1, you're going to get 33 as the value there. So what we're going to do, now that it's symmetrical, is one side is going to be calculated via multiplication, and one side is going to be calculated via addition. Okay, so here, this one is easy, but it's not actually easy. Okay, the multiplication is actually easy. So you go equals this times this times this. Okay, 2, 6, 24. This one is a bit harder because you have to kind of think about the Fibonacci sequence a little bit. And you have to understand that this input of 1 at the very beginning is treated a little differently. So what you really do is you have to go equals. Basically, there's another way to do this too using division, but I'm going to use multiplication because it's just what I'm used to doing. And you would go equals 1 times 1, and then you go plus 2. Okay? And so when you do this, you can get the number that you actually are supposed to get here, which is a 3, when the input is 1. And now, from here on, because now you've started this process in the additive side of things, like, you don't have to do that again. You just go, just like the Fibonacci sequence. There you go, 3, 6, 9. Or let's do, yeah. Okay. So here's your multiplication. Here is your addition. And then, as the final step, you can add that. Now, there's other things you can do too, and you can be like, this one times this one. And one thing that I'm kind of working on is like making just exploring all the different ways in which you can like use these numbers. So like 2 times 3, and then 6 times 6, and then like 24 times 9. which would be 216. But I think that really these are the two numbers that you would want to focus on the most. And but mainly 33. But I'll show you some interesting things about 216. And let's take a look. So I was like, okay, well, what's 216? 216 number should give me some interesting things about it if I'm actually doing anything interesting and not just putting numbers together like, you know, the pseudoscientists that call everybody else pseudoscientists would suggest. 216, it is the smallest cube that is also the sum of 3 cubes. That's fascinating. Okay, right? It's also the sum of a twin prime number, 107 and 109. What's in between 107 and 109? 108. 108 is a very, very, very fascinating number, and I find it in my work as well. It's a Hershod number. It's a Friedman number. It's the smallest number n for which, you know, you can read that. The 216 colors formed by a 6 by 6 by 6 color cube. Guys, remember what I told you? Like this was going to reply to like carbon, like 6 atoms, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons. That's carbon. 216 colors formed by 6 by 6 by 6 color cube are sometimes known as the web-safe color palette. It's fascinating. 216 is also the value of Gevura which is the 5th Sephirot in the Tree of Life, which that is, what is that? Judgment. Makes sense. In the film Pi, Max becomes obsessed with a 216-digit number in his quest to find the numeric equation behind existence. Fascinating. I've never seen that. It's told by a group of Hasidic Jews that it represents the true name of God. I did not know that. What are the odds? Probably 100%. I study with Hasidic Jews, but they don't look at my work. They know basically nothing about my work. I don't talk to any of them about my work. Look at this. Octal. 330, which is 33. 8. Which the periodicity is always 8. Look at that. Divisors. There we go. 108. Fascinating. 72 and 27 are also divisors, which are, you know, palindromes, I guess. That's interesting. You can also look at it here. I love this website, Numbermatics. Composed of 2 prime numbers multiplied together, and we're having tech problems with loading what it looks like. What does it look like? There we go. That's what it looks like. 16 divisors, 2 prime factors. It's 2 to the third and 3 to the third. Interesting. Some of it, all of its divisors is 600, like I said, guys. The number 6. It's crazy. 6 represents interaction between 2. Freaking ads. I've been trying to figure out, like, I know I've spoken to some of you about, like, the social media platform that I've been working on a little bit. I've been trying to figure out a moral form of advertising. As many of you know, I have a history in advertising. I did all PragerU's advertising for like 3 years. And then before that, I was an advertiser for Blue Cross Blue Shield. and I'm trying to figure out like a moral setting for advertising, and I think I found it. I'm starting to find it because I don't actually like, as much as it has been my job in the past, I don't really like the way that it's done. But that's true of many things that we do these days. But yeah, that's amazing. Okay, let's see some questions that people have. But there you go. That's how you build the quantum of consciousness. There it is. And it should maintain. Let's just decrease the size here a little bit. Yep. As soon as it maintains, when you scale up 1 beyond 1, you know, then it will be, you'll know it'll be fine for 9 or 10 or 248. It'll be fine. As long as it works with both 1 and 2. Maintain symmetry. And if you don't get these values when you put in a 1, and you don't get these values when you put in a 2, you've broken symmetry somewhere and you screwed it up. That's how you can test. Just test it with 1 and 2. All right, questions. Let's see. That was pretty cool. We're going to go over it again in the future. But that was something. You guys, it's a y and the inverse y. Yeah. Yeah, it is. The sacred Rubik's Cube. It is a sacred Rubik's Cube. I think about the Rubik's Cube all the time. I bet you I could learn like some crazy tricks with the Rubik's Cube by applying my work to it. I guarantee you there's so much overlap. I couldn't tell until I noticed the repetitious pattern. Never tell me the odds. The odds are probably 100%. That's always the odds. Man, I don't have COVID. Just ate a lot of yogurt. Dairy will screw up your voice. It's a good thing I'm not an opera singer. This is like the next worst thing, though, to eat a lot of dairy. Okay. Wow, lots of stuff on Instagram. Let me see. The metaphysics. This is the metaphysics behind the magic square. Yeah, it is. But I've never seen anybody make this magic square. Like, I've seen so many magic squares, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then I make this one, and it seems like the most obvious one. And I was sure I would have seen it. Like, I showed it to Robert Grant years ago. He was the first person that I showed it to outside of, like, my friends who didn't think anything of it. They were like, okay, Tyler, that's kind of cool. But I showed it to Robert Grant, and like he didn't see it, and then he didn't get back to me for like, you know, months, and I didn't know him at the time though, so it made sense. And then he didn't read it. And then one day I just get this message, and he's like, it's Robert Grant, and he's just like, wow, this is really good. And like, I was expecting him to be like, yeah, you know, that's the square that so-and-so, you know, Pythagoras came up with, or something like that. And I've not seen it anywhere. The closest thing that I have seen to it is when it's a triangle and they do like Yud Hey Vav Hey, and it's like, but it's like Yud at the top, and then Yud Hey, and then Yud Hey Vav, and then Yud Hey Vav Hey at the bottom. And when you understand what's happening there, that's the closest thing to this square. But I've never seen a magic square that's just like this. If you have, let me know. But I've never seen one that follows this exact pattern. But it seems like the most obvious one. So I don't really understand why. But what's fascinating too about this, not only though is this 369, which then scales up because you use it 162 times to build this. There's 162 little squares here. And 162 is 3 times 6 times 9. And I didn't even know that until like 2 months ago. I went like a year with this structure and been like, I don't know how that links to 369 at this level. But maybe it doesn't have to, because it only needs to link to it in the, like, you know, the building blocks. But of course it would link to it at this level as well, the cosmological level. And it does. It's 3 times 6 times 9. But also, this is 432. Right here, 432, 432. Not only is it 432, which is really 42 divided by a 3, like literally 42 divided by a 3, because there's a 3 dividing the two of them. It's super literal. But 1123 is the start of the Fibonacci sequence. It's the first 4 digits of the Fibonacci sequence. There's so much math contained in this one specific structure. 19 is the sum, the interior sum. We already looked at 216. 33 is amazing as well, because it's a 3 by... What caught me about 33 is I realized this is a 3 by 3 grid manifesting in 3 by 3. 33 is 3 by 3 in what is I call an extra arithmetic symmetry, but it's really, the other word I like for it is super literal. I think someone came up with it. Maybe I came up with it on this stream, but however it happened on the stream once. Very good term. Super literal. 3 by 3. When a 3 by 3 grid looks at itself in the mirror, it sees 3 by 3. And, you know, interestingly enough, 432 adds to 9. And it's a count of 3. But there's a sum here, and it's got an average of 2.1 and a sum of 19. What's interesting about that is we can go, let's go over here, let's look up 33. 2 prime numbers. 3 and 1, 11, which is 1 by 1. Like 1 coming from 1. Like, it's like when you're marching 1 by 1. It's like when it's talking about replication. It's talking about replication of consciousness. 1 by 1. Super literal. But 33 is fascinating because the sum of the prime factors is 14. Like the 14-dimensional observers that are at the center of geometric unity. That 14 is also the number of generations times 3 that is on the first page of the gospel. So it's 14 generations and 14 generations and 14 generations. We find that in my work with the fermions. There's 3 different perspectives that result in 14, in a count of 14 that you can look at the fermions. And then when you look at this, it's complete list of divisors 4, which is, you know, fascinating because this is ending in 4, and this structure has at its center point a 4 right here. That's, well, I think it would be, I don't want to like give you the wrong one, so I'll give you make sure I give you the right one right here. 4, which sums to 8, but it's a count of 4. 1, 2, 2, 3. But you can see here, 33 is the sum of all of these from the center. So there, including the 2. From the center out. There. It's amazing. My neighbor is playing the piano. So sorry if you can hear that. They were actually pretty good, but as I stream earlier, you can hear it. But this is even this structure Look at this. 432. And it's emergent from it being built from those, but it's still 432. 432 on the bottom. 432. But, and you can see here, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. It's the Fibonacci sequence happening. Let's see if we start here. What's the number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm guessing it's going to be 8, but 7 and 8. Yeah, of course. It's 8 periods of growth. Literally. 8 periods of... You can see these are the periods of growth, these waves here. And I've got them labeled up above. I mean, they're this, but... This is the head. And this is the body, which is always a multiplicity or assembly. This is always a singularity. And when we put it onto this structure, this is the head. This is the body. So like you can match up the colors and be like dark blue and dark blue. So a family is a assembly of organisms. Or you could be like orange. An atom is an assembly of hadrons. This works like that. But, I mean, there's so much amazing math here. And the symmetries are just off the charts. I put like, somebody said it looks like a snake. I think I noticed too, but they also said it. And I'll put this thing here just to prove it. Look at this. It's like, it's a snake, guys. Here's the tail. And then it goes like this, and 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 like this. It's a freaking snake. It's amazing. And you can see the directionality of it shifting in this. So it goes, you start here, go down, and then it shifts and you go this way. This is how you build it. And I'll teach you guys how to build this. And I'll show you how I built it. Which is by doing multiple different attempts to do like a solid, though this would be a solid, this would be a liquid, this would be a gas. And there's 64 gaps in each one of these. There's 64 red spaces here, 64 red spaces here, 64 red spaces here, because that's the structure of the vacuum. It's the 64 tetrahedron grid that Nassim Haramein, mapped. And then in between it, there's 81 of what I mapped, which is the holonic structure, which is the quantum of consciousness. I mean, I could just call it the holonic structure, but I'll think about it. And like a holonic function. But each holon is a consciousness. That's what defines a holon. And like an objective holon, like in the growth structure of the universe. But each one, it's the same. 81, 81, 81, and 64, 64, 64. And there's 81 stable elements in the periodic table. So we see 81 holonic structures. And then the 64 tetrahedron grid holds it all together. And then when I was looking to make no gaps, that's how I made this. And the overlap produces the observation of triality. So it's no longer 81. It's like 81 plus this new perspective added. So like, it's no longer this binary. Their binaries are overlapping so that there's a triality of perspective that's observed. So just out of curiosity, equals 162 minus 81. I'm just cute. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Makes sense. Amazing. And there's 720 little squares in this. I mean, this is the structure of the DNA double helix. This is a 19 by 19, two 19 by 19 squares overlapping each other, which is a double helix. Because the helical diameter of DNA helix is 19. And the sum of the base pairs per turn is 33. This is the substructure behind even the double helix. It's amazing. But you'll find like the most amazing math in this. Like it's just endless. I will be searching numbers that come up in this work just endlessly. It just blows my mind every time. So like prime, 1, 1, 2, 3 is a prime. Okay, remember that one, 1, 1, 2, 3, and then 19 is also a prime. Okay, so because the interior sum is 19. But look at this, interestingly enough. 19 squared, remember I said that this was the square root? The literal square root, guys. That all these were the square root. So like, this is a square root of this structure. The universal square root, the cosmological square root. And that comes from this square root of inside, outside, separate, and oneness, just that 4. And then that comes from this square root, which is just, you know, the sentient singularity, 1. Okay, so there's 4 square root squares. There's 1, and then there's 4, and then there's 9, and then there's 718, which is really 720. When you take it into the context of the lineage of a universe coming from a universe, but 19 squared is 360. When you take this, which this is, you can see interior sum of 19. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's down here. This structure, oh wait, no, we want V1. Here it is. Count of 36, which is 360. And it's chiral, so it's, you can see here it starts here, but then it ends in the middle of this 3 here, but it starts at the top of this 3. So you kind of like almost add a 1. But what's interesting about that is like, it's like 361. I find the most fascinating things in this map. Let's see this. I think I found 360 once. This is all 36, which is 360, but I think I've found even crazier. Oh, look, there it is. Okay, so when you now do 1 and then all the way out, which you'll get to 19. So now the count is 19 instead of the sum. And the entirety of the sum of it across, starting here all the way to here, and it's chiral, so you add 1 to each side. It doesn't matter which one you do, but the structure is chiral. So, and that's caused by directionality of spin that's happening in the structure. You always add 1 to one side only because that's showing directionality of spin. Now we get 360. I bet you could do it this one too, but you have to, yep, 360 as a sum again. You just have to add that 18 on the outside. Or you can end it with this 18 on the outside. But this map is showing spin. That's why it's 360 degrees of spin. But that's fascinating, because you're starting with 1 in the center and you're going outwards towards 19, and you end in 19 as the count of this structure always. But then when you sum it, the values in the interior, you'll get 360. It's the square root. 361. The reason why it's 361 is because it's including God. Like, that's what it is. It's plus 1. It's like, it's fascinating. Mathematicians won't tell you that, but I will. What's crazy about 19 is this, some of its digits is 10, which is 1 and 0, which is that. 1 and infinity. Superposition between oneness and infinity is in, which is in the context of growth, 19, and 19 is representative of that. It's so amazing. See what kind of... Damn, now all this makes sense. I know, dude. I know. It's amazing how much it actually does make sense. Like, people will be like, this is bordering on numerology, Tyler. It's like, this isn't bordering on numerology. This is beyond what they think of as numerology. This is the objective context of numbers. It shows you the objective values. Advertise health products. I will advertise all kinds of things on my new platform, but it's gonna, the way in which it's advertised is more important than what is advertised. What is advertised is not nearly as important as how, if you're going to talk about like setting a moral framework for advertising. But I know why you would think like, oh, health products, but what some people think of as health products, other people think of as not health products. And the reality is that what is health products for some is not health products for others. It's not, as that isn't completely universal. You know, if you have, you know, issues with your heart, you know, there are things that you don't want to do that maybe like running or something, and it would be healthy for one but not another. This is the metaphysics behind the magic square. Thank you. These can create portals when made into a cube and the numbers reflect each other. Yeah, I mean, this is why they are going to be used to create warp transportation, but I don't know if that's a good thing. Same proportion reflected in all sizes, yes. No matter the size, yeah. It's like the fractal grid I work with. Yeah, probably. Wow, there's so many people in Instagram, but it doesn't tell me. Guys, I think they're starting to like shadow ban me a little bit, because I have way more people that will be watching me on Instagram than they'll tell me. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you. Go to sentientsingularity.com on my homepage. Scroll down to the bottom, and not only does that website link to all of my social media profiles and will be used as an update for my work, and there's an overview of my work, a background to my work. There's an entire page of models on there. There's also a place to sign up for my email list at the bottom of the homepage. Definitely do that because I can already tell they're doing it. They're on to us on Instagram. Like, they definitely are. And I know that because it was my job to look for these patterns for lawsuits that were presented in Congress. And, like, Google attested to my analytical abilities, even though it was against their interests. Like, they were asked, like, you know, oh, the average watch time, by the way, of this stream currently 24 minutes and 42 seconds, guys. You know, I was listening to Owen Benjamin yesterday talking, and like he was like talking about like how the symmetries are just becoming like undeniable, and that's so true. And people will be like, well, now it's changed to 24 minutes and 50 seconds. It's like, well, that's good, but like there's 6 concurrent viewers and 24 playbacks right now, and it was 24 as the average watch time and 24 minutes and 42 seconds as the average watch time when I looked. The point is, when you looked, that does matter. It's like people will be like, well, it changed. Like, well, yeah, because you waited for it to change. But like, the point is, what was it when you looked? Fascinating. But they're definitely onto us on Instagram. It's definitely more people listening than 2. And, you know, follow me on, like, sign up for my email list. They can't stop the truth, but they're going to try. They're really, 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 really going to try. Because I said that this has to do with moral implications. And it does. It does. How long have we been streaming? I don't know, probably like 2 hours and probably like almost 2 hours. I got on at like 7:30. Do you guys have any other questions about what I showed you, what I did? It's starting to get hot here under these lights. I have like lights for the video, and they get a little hot over time, which is crazy because they're LEDs, but they're still get hot. So this turned out to be a good stream. Like, the whole day was kind of thrown off a little bit just because I had some plans that were supposed to happen today that just didn't because of, you know, just people scheduling and stuff like that. And that's fine. But like, it kind of threw me off, to be honest, before the stream. And I was like, wonder what we're going to talk about. I always have a good time, so I wasn't like worried, but like I didn't really know. It's like, that was pretty cool though, to go over some of that stuff. But yeah, like, they're censoring us. I mean, I haven't seen my Instagram go above like 2 in weeks when we're streaming, guys. And I know that more people than 2 are watching. But I think I've seen it go to like 4 in the very beginning of a stream, and then that's it. But and I'm hoping that it's because people are jumping over to YouTube instead. YouTube numbers are still going up. They're not onto us on YouTube yet. YouTube is a little slower than Instagram sometimes at noticing things. But, you know, they're going to be onto us. So sign up at sentientsingularity.com. All right. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Now I remember. I got off track. Okay, 19 and 1123. These were two numbers I wanted to look at. And they're both primes. So we go to my prime sheet. There's lots of prime numbers. And I look a lot at prime numbers. I think that a prime number is when a consciousness is generated, basically. Whoa, we're way too far down. Okay, there we go. Okay. So when we look at these prime numbers, we can see that if you don't include 1 and 0 as primes and you start at 2, 19 is the 8th prime. That's interesting because there's 8 periods of growth in the universe. So we're seeing another symmetry. And the sum of all of these together is 77, okay? And so that's interesting. Now, if we go down to 1123, right here. This is the 188th prime. That's also interesting. Start at 2. But, guys, here's the symmetry. When you start at 0, so I have it showing the start at 1, the start at 0, and the start at 2. When you start at 0, it's the 190th prime, 1123. Which is 19 times 10. Fascinating. This is the differences. This is the differences between the differences. It's amazing. You can look at 30. What's the 33rd prime number? 137, which is the fine structure constant. 1 over 137. It's 33, the 33rd prime number. Guys, this structure, the more you look into it, the more it's true that this really is what it seems to be, which is basically, it's the holonic structure. It's the quantum of consciousness. It's the building block of the universe. Whereas God, there's 4, I call it the square root square. It's 4 squares. So there's this one, which would be right here. Oh, sad. I can't do this as cool as I wanted to be. I wanted to be really cool. It's not going to let me be super cool, but we'll be kind of cool. How do we do this? The square root square is this. Let's take one. Two. And I would want to do This is inside, outside. Let's see this. Inside, outside. Separate. Okay. That's what it is. Sorry, this takes a second to load. There we go. You would do singularity. Inside. Separate. Outside. 20. And then you would just do this one. Sentient Singularity. And that's the square root square. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Those are the 4 squares that build everything. Make sure that everybody's seeing this on YouTube good. Piano stopped. I kind of like it, but I don't know how much it shows up on the stream, but I live in an apartment. You have to deal with the noises. But this consciousness, God, has these 4 perspectives outside. Inside, outside, separate, and oneness. But this is oneness. Oneness. Maybe actually, I'm going to change the colors on this. Inside, outside. Separate. Oneness. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Whoa, the whole place just shook. We've been getting earthquakes. We got an earthquake the other night here, and it was like I dreamt the earthquake before it happened. It was so weird. Like, I had a dream about it, like, I feel like just like a minute or 2 before it happened, and then I woke up, and then the earthquake happened. Maybe I just felt like the minor tremors beforehand and then just like dreamt about it, but I don't know, it was crazy. But like last year, like it was the day that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and like regardless of your opinion on her, it doesn't matter, like, but she died on a day that was like particular. It was like Mercury was in retrograde or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a particular day that was important, like astrologically, I don't remember what it was, but I just remember people talking about it. And then I turned to my roommate and I was like, dude, something is going to happen. Like, something is going to happen. I'm telling you. Because we were kind of just talking about like the legitimacy of that, of astrology. And I was telling him that it seems illegitimate because it's outside that and numerology and these other things that used to be considered much more scientific and then now are kind of considered just woo and pseudoscience, which there's no such thing as pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is the only word that is pseudoscientific. And but we were discussing the legitimacy of them, and I was like, they're not placed into context. You have to put them into. I was like, I bet you if you put numerology or I don't know, like astrology, but if you threw out everything that we kind of know about numerology and astrology and you start again from the ground up using these models, I was like, I bet you stuff would happen. So, but because it was like due to astronomy, it was also like supposed to be kind of a crazy day. There's like noises. I don't know what they are, but like people banging and stuff. But I was like, I bet you something's gonna happen. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and I was like, dude, I told you. And he was like, you did tell me. You said something was gonna happen. And then we had a crazy huge earthquake that night too. And I was like, I looked at him afterwards and I was like, it woke us all up. Like, actually, I think my fiance and I were already awake, but like he was asleep. And then like the next day, we go downstairs and I see him in the kitchen and I was like, dude, I told you. He was like, you told me. It's like people, but still like, that'll be the end of it. They'll register like, okay, that happened. But then after that, it's just, but, there's more going on than we think. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, I'm going to take final questions, but I will say that, like, thank you all for being here. I always appreciate it deeply. Just grateful to be able to speak to people who find this interesting about this work, because I was doing this alone for like 4 years, just by myself, completely. And I had to like completely believe in the legitimacy of the work that I was doing in order to continue it in private. It's like you have to know you're right. You not just think you're right. You have to know you're right, which is, takes a lot of checking of yourself. But I showed you guys so much math. I was like, all these mathematical symmetries, and people will be like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Like, that's just a coincidence. It's like, just don't listen to those people. There's no such thing as randomness in mathematics. That's a mathematical fact. Anyways, any final questions? Could be about anything. Eventually we got to do like an AMA, like an Ask Me Anything or something. But I feel like we've done stuff like that. Otherwise we wouldn't have discussed Wendigos. But like I said, Thursday I'm supposed to do an interview with an amazing artist who does like geometric art, friend of mine named Nico Meyer. He does incredible designs. I'll show you them real quick on here. Instagram. But I'm starting to run into some slower internet right about now, so it's probably a sign that we should wrap up. But this is Nico Meyer. Follow his page on Instagram. He does amazing work. I love this one with this where it's switching between a coral snake and a milk snake, essentially. One is, red on yellow or red on black. We're going to talk about his art, stuff like this. I love the sounds that he puts to his work too. Look at that lattice structure. This is a hop vibration that he coded. There we go. This is going to be cool to see. It's like the structure of a consciousness. So cool. A lot of sculpture. I'd show one more that I really like. Where is it? I love this one.
Holy are you, holy are you. There is no God but you. There is no God but you. Praise be the Lord. Holy are you. Holy are you. There is no God but you.
So cool. So I'm going to be speaking with him on Thursday on a stream, and then tomorrow, hopefully, we can get Will Roosh again. That was supposed to be today, but had to be postponed. And we're going to be discussing learning. And you can follow Will Roosh on here, right here. He is very interested in critical thinking, and he's a high school teacher in Los Angeles. He does great work, and I highly suggest you give both of those guys a follow. Should be speaking with both of them this week, and that should be a good time. All right, final questions, and then I'm going to shut down the stream. Good night, all. Take care, and see y'all later. Peace, Chris. I'm going to give it like one more minute, and then I'm taking off. But thank you all for being here. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. And I hope that this helped you guys kind of see how these structures are formed and why they're so amazing. Okay. I'm shutting down Instagram, and I'll shut down YouTube. Peace out. All right.